I'm joined by Alan Sparks, who was awarded the British Empire Medal for Gallantry for his efforts at the Westgate Bridge disaster in Victoria, where 35 workers died. Alan, thank you for your time. So this week, the tragedy in the United States brought back Australia's own disaster, where 2 years into construction, these Australians lost their lives.
Yes, it has brought back those memories from quite some time ago, and the tragedy is really the fact that 35 men came to work that morning and 35 men did not go home to their families. It's not the steel and the concrete in the river that people should be considering. It's certainly the loss of lives and the families that are affected by that. And it has been a reminder of the events that took place for me some time ago.
Yes, absolutely. And this week's Baltimore Bridge collapse, can you explain to us in detail exactly how this tragic accident occurred and could it have been prevented?
Oh, look, the commentary around that rests with other people rather than myself. I can certainly say, though, that in the tragedy of an event like this, the generous human nature really comes to the fore in terms of respect and dignity and the heroism and indeed the love. And I can recall 2 events out of my experience which have stayed with me throughout my lifetime. The first was in my efforts to extricate one of the victims below the bridge. I found that the wristwatch on this person was still on the wrist, but the band had broken, and I handed that up through the gap to somebody above, and the person that took it from me as if it was the crown jewels, and it gave me at the time a great sense of relief that I knew that treasured item would go back to the family at some point of time. The other event that sits in my mind was when I finally was able to extricate this person. I called for a blanket so that I could, in that restricted space, wrap that person into the blanket to preserve some of the dignity before passing him up to others above me and into the light. I think those first responders that are called out for these events, they're the heroes. And everybody should take the time to thank them for their service when they meet them on the streets.
You're right, they are the heroes. And this tragedy has put Australia's own infrastructure into the spotlight. And the question we want answered is, could this happen here? And what controls do we have in place to prevent these disasters?
Look, I think, again, without trying to forecast what the findings of an investigation will be, these events don't necessarily happen with just one item. There's a series of circumstances. And I have the greatest of confidence here in Australia that the engineering arms and arms of government are constantly looking at the infrastructure that we have to make it as safe as it can be and, where necessary, to make adjustments both in policies, procedures and indeed renovation work. So I feel very comfortable, but will these things happen again in the future? I think statistically we do face that prospect. We need to be prepared to be able to deal with those consequences, and I again praise the first responders and the efforts of government to be prepared to meet natural disasters and industrial disasters of this nature.
So if something like this can happen again, what makes bridges so vulnerable, and is it time to reassess how bridges are built?
Again, I probably don't have the expertise to be able to deal with that question, but again, I do have the greatest of confidence in the engineering skills and talents that we have in this country. We have some of the best qualified people working in those areas in civil construction and engineering constructions around the world. And from an issue like this, people learn from that and things change where they need to change to make items of infrastructure far more safer.
Alan Sparks, thank you for your time today. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.